With Mercedes Mone spotted with a WWE champion and more, this is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. Explaining how his in-ring style has altered over the years, Brian Cage told the Wild On podcast. Also, a lot of people thought that I was this crazy high flyer. I've always been athletic and stuff, but I actually did more flips and tricks, so to speak, as I got bigger more so than I was smaller. I kind of just started trying it. I remember I did some stuff in FCW when I got signed when I was smaller, but just on the crash pad messing around, but I never really incorporated it in any of it or much of it. It really wasn't until 2013 or 2014 until I started doing stuff. There was one 6-man match where I was like, I'm gonna moonsault to the outside, and everyone's like, what? It got such a huge reaction that I just kind of kept doing stuff, and it would be so over because it's my size doing it. Then I started doing it like all the time, way too often, just to stand out and get more over. Now I do it very rarely. I think I've done a total of like 3 dives in my AEW career. I know everybody knows I can do it, but since I don't ever do it, when I do something, it's like it's the first time, so it gets more of a reaction. Voicing his concern over unprotected chair shots in pro wrestling, Matt Hardy said this on his Extreme Life podcast. I think about it all the time. I know my memory is nowhere near as good as it used to be. I am not as fast as I used to be. It's crazy, but like these cold plunges I've been doing, I feel like they've helped my memory. They've been very good for my brain as well. I've thought about it a lot and how I'm going to be. I feel like one of the important things is that I am aware, so that allows me to still do things to protect myself. Like, I don't take crazy bumps to my head. These AEW fans, you know, if they're looking for me to go out there and take this high angle bump on my head, I'm just not going to do it. I wrestle a solid, clean match. That's what I do, but I do protect myself. I mean, I have more than sacrificed so much of myself for the pro wrestling business. It's my job to go out there, and I'm an entertainer more than an athlete in this day and age. I can still go out there and do my thing, but I'm not going to take things that are risky and something that I think could hurt me bad, because I need to be around as long as I can possibly be for my kids. Following Smackdown, Sami Zayn said this regarding The Rock's return to WWE.
Because for years and years and years, our generation, the guys that have been busting their ass night in, night out, we have to constantly listen to people talk about the good old days. The good old days. The good old days. Well, I got news for you. Tonight, 10,000 people sold out this building in Birmingham to see the best karate performers in the world. So I have news for you and for everybody. The good old days are right here, right now. And I want to thank you for letting me a part of it. And I thank you all from the bottom of my heart, each and every one of you, for being a part of it with us. Thank you so much. We are all doing something special right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. Thank you very much.
Recalling what her dad said to her following her AEW debut, Deonna Purrazzo said on the AEW Unrestricted podcast, "Fast forward now, I make my debut, there's my dad crying. When Renee came to the back, he had said to me, I think I'm a wrestling fan now. What other place can you go to and you can cheer and you can boo and you can say nasty things about people and everyone else in the audience is doing it and you're not being judged?" He had the time of his life at Prudential Center, and there's only been a few times where I've seen my dad so happy and so free and loose and excited. My wedding day was one of them, and Prudential Center in Newark was the other time. Speaking about the possibility of TNA bringing back the six-sided ring, Jordynne Grace told Sean Ross Sapp, "I was so excited. I think a lot of us have wanted that for a long time. We switched the name a couple of times over the years, Global Force, then moving to Impact. Impact was awesome in building it back up, but now we can finally embrace what TNA at its roots was always meant to be, which is it was always supposed to be a family and somewhere that people could go and be the absolute best wrestlers that they could be. Personally, I would not like to see the six-sided ring come back full time, but I would absolutely love to do a special pay-per-view. I'd love to see it for Slammiversary or Bound for Glory. I think that would make those pay-per-views, which are already huge pay-per-views, even more special if we were able to get the six-sided ring back for those." Mentioning who will be involved with The Rock when it comes to his creative in WWE, it was said that PW Insider confirmed former Senior Vice President of Development at Johnson 7 Bucks Productions, Brian Gewirtz, will be in the mix as usual, as he is always involved whenever Rock is doing something with WWE, as he helps with The Rock's creative process, considering his history as a former head of WWE creative for several years. Some people think he could even be a plan B if Endeavor ever needs to pivot WWE's direction creatively under Triple H and go with a Rock-backed creative team down the line. After Smackdown took place, The Rock said this to fans in attendance: "Well, it's become very clear and evident to The Rock that when you want to create something iconic and when you want to create something magical, you come to the Magic City. This is a city deep in history, and ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm happy to tell you that tonight, all of us, tonight we made history here in Birmingham, Alabama. Birmingham, I thank you. I love you. If you smell what The Rock is cooking." Revealing the behind-the-scenes plans for The Rock to be a part of WrestleMania this year, Dave Meltzer said on the Wrestling Observer message board, "The Rock pushed super hard for it. The WrestleMania 40 card changed when CM Punk and Brock Lesnar were out and all the dominoes fell. Dwayne already wanted it, and WWE felt they now needed it as well. Felt this was better to change the news flow away from Vince. Cody was the plan. Dwayne was going to face him, Roman Reigns, later. Maybe next year's Mania. Maybe Saudi. The Vince thing ends up worse than they thought, and they changed the plan. 100% it was Punk versus Seth and Cody versus Reigns until Punk got hurt." Staying on the topic of The Rock returning to in-ring action against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40, PW Insider said others believe that Rock pushed for the move and likely would have no matter what, given his massive $30 million stock payday is, in part, contingent on him hitting certain milestones. Sources familiar with the situation believe one of those milestones was Johnson returning to the ring this year, and that Johnson pushed for the match to happen sooner than later, with the idea he felt Reigns versus The Rock was the far bigger attraction for the company. So it's very possible that no matter who was injured or not, Cody versus Reigns would not have taken place because The Rock was back in the game and the most important members of company management were going to acquiesce to Dwayne Johnson's ideas. Revealing the backstage reaction in WWE to the segment with Rock, Rhodes, and Reigns, Fightful reported that the reaction backstage to The Rock taking Cody Rhodes' spot was one of shock. Going over WWE's reasoning behind putting Rock versus Roman Reigns together, PW Insider said in WWE, there isn't going to be anyone that's not going to at least consider The Rock's ideas. This wasn't done to target and politic Cody Rhodes out of his main event out of malice, but out of the belief that Johnson was the best idea to make money now and respect his new position with the company's parent company. This was a strategic move to give Johnson more political power overall and to show Endeavor's faith in his involvement, and that even Paul Triple H Levesque would lose that power struggle with Johnson at this point, as one source surmised. Apparently, The Rock felt the need to save WrestleMania 40, with PW Insider noting that while WWE had been expertly building to a Cody Rhodes vs. Roman Reigns rematch, some sources believe it was done by Johnson to, as one source stated, save WrestleMania after CM Punk and Brock Lesnar, for very different reasons, were taken off the board from the biggest weekend of the year. When it comes to what could be next for Cody Rhodes after seemingly giving up his WrestleMania spot, PW Insider reported that the current plan is for Cody Rhodes to face Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 40. While finishing the story was primed to climax at WrestleMania 40, there were already some in WWE openly talking about the idea of Cody Rhodes winning the World Heavyweight Championship and then challenging the winner of Roman Reigns versus The Rock for SummerSlam in a title unification bout so that Cody could finally finish the story. Asked about AEW possibly hiring Vince Russo as a part of their creative team, Kevin Nash replied on his Click This podcast, "I'm telling you, I would definitely give Vince a 6-month run to see if he can, you know?" As she was recently seen on Smackdown following her participation in the Women's Royal Rumble, Jade Cargill could choose to sign with Raw or Smackdown, as she posted this to Instagram, writing, "Hottest free agent in WWE, so many choices." After making her Smackdown debut, Tiffany Stratton posted photos and wrote on Instagram, "It's about dang Tiffy time." On X, a fan asked Karrion Kross about his finishing move, writing, "Hey, question, what made you decide to use the pump handle in your finisher? It seems like an unnecessary addition to an already badass move. You rock." Kross replied, "A deadlift movement is a powerful lift. I only planned on doing it one time. Then I saw people having emotional meltdowns online about it and thought it was hilarious, so I kept doing it that way. I can hit the over-the-shoulder elevated DDT from almost anywhere." Explaining why he nearly wanted to hit a fan during an interaction, Dijak said this on X, "Some douchebag at the airport just called me T-Bar, and not only did I resist the urge to punch him in his face, I actually signed his stupid figures and took a picture with him too. If that's not a true NXT champion, I don't know what is." On social media, AEW would promote Sting's last match, writing, "Just a few tickets remain for the Icon Sting's final match at AEW Revolution on Sunday, March 3rd in Greensboro, North Carolina, at the Greensboro Coliseum, live on pay-per-view. Don't miss out on this iconic moment in history." Former TNA owner Dixie Carter replied, "I cannot tell you what Sting means to me. A true legend and gentleman. I will always be grateful for our many years working together. Get out and support the icon. Hashtag last match at AEW. Hashtag great times at This Is TNA." During an interview, former WWE and current AEW star Adam Copeland spoke about having options in the pro wrestling industry, saying, "Anytime there is more than one place to ply your trade, that's good for everyone who is part of that trade. A monopoly is never a good idea." That goes for me as a consumer too. As a consumer, I want more choices. That doesn't mean you have to choose one over the other. You can choose them all. I remember growing up and dying to be able to get my hands on NWA tapes. It didn't air where I lived, where there was WWF. I found International Wrestling from Montreal. I found All-Star Wrestling from Vancouver. I found all of these other shows and I loved that. I'd get little snippets of guys I'd only seen in magazines. Then the show Pro Wrestling Plus with Ed Whalen, who was the announcer for Stampede, started, and I finally got to see wrestlers from the NWA and Continental. I just thought, give it all to me. That's why AEW is great. It's so cool to see different wrestling. This is really special and I'm having a blast being here. revealing his aspirations in AEW, Ricky Starks said this to Forbes. "I had someone ask me my goal and I can't tell you because every time I make one, it changes immediately. I would love to say I have goals, but I really don't. Obviously, I'd love to be AEW World Champion, but every time I make a goal, it never ends up going the way I had envisioned it. So I think I'm going to try something different. There's a lot of things I have input on, but also it's good to have structure. I'm a person that loves having structure and outlines as well." When it comes to WWE's internal reaction to the sex trafficking lawsuit against Vince McMahon, Ringside News wrote that the WWE is currently facing significant scrutiny following the lawsuit filed by Janelle Grant against the organization, Vince McMahon, and John Laurinaitis. The lawsuit alleges sexual assault, exploitation, and trafficking during Grant's time as an employee, with McMahon and Laurinaitis at the center of the allegations. Beyond the specific actions of McMahon and Laurinaitis, the WWE as a whole has come under fire for creating an environment in which such allegations can occur. Dave Meltzer reported in the latest installment of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that some reactions from individuals within WWE in response to the lawsuit. One WWE star reportedly found reading the lawsuit to be emotionally distressing and expressed sadness that everyone within the company had been striving for Vince McMahon's approval, only to seemingly discover that their efforts were not reciprocated. There is also reported trauma among the women on the WWE roster, with a fear that more individuals may come forward with similar allegations following Grant's lawsuit. According to one main roster star, WWE management has not addressed the situation extensively, apart from stating that McMahon will not be returning. Instead, the focus has been on celebrating the success of the Royal Rumble event and the significance of the Netflix broadcasting deal. Furthermore, it is mentioned that some talent within WWE questioned WWE CCO Paul Levesque's claim that he had not read the lawsuit, particularly following the Royal Rumble event. Levesque, who is Vince McMahon's son-in-law, is the last remaining McMahon family member actively involved in WWE. Stephanie McMahon had left WWE in January 2023, while Shane McMahon has not been seen since his return at WrestleMania 39, where he suffered an injury. Taking to X, The Rock promoted a fight for the UFC, writing, "He fights to pay it forward. Wishing my brother at The Answer MMA best of luck today in his UFC welterweight fight on Fight Night on ESPN Plus at 1 p.m. Pacific. Themba's amazing story caught my eye when MMA fans sent me an ESPN tweet where Themba had just $7 remaining in his bank account. This led to many negative responses from users as they read, 'Please retire and let Cody finish his story.' Edited the tweet, 'Take this ratio again. You need to pay it forward and let Cody finish his story at WrestleMania. Instead, you're ruining WrestleMania 40. You need to retire. Let Cody finish his story. Go away. Cody deserves to main event Mania. Hashtag we want Cody.' Yeah, what happened to Shane, Baldy? You've just waltzed in and took Cody's spot. Give it back to him. Give Cody's spot back." Reacting to the Smackdown segment involving Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and The Rock, former WWE star Summer Rae wrote on X, "Imagine handing over your WrestleMania match that you beat 29 other people for after a 2-year build. I'm all for twists and turns, but make it make sense. Gosh, I hope we are all wrong. I hope it all makes sense next Friday in a Rock Roman promo. That is, if either of them show up to TV." Giving his take on The Rock returning and seemingly taking the spot of Cody Rhodes to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40, former WWE writer Vince Russo wrote on X, "The Rock in WWE WrestleMania main event is nothing more than smokescreen and diversion designed to make you look over here and not over there. Honestly, if you don't know that, you are simply ignorant. Disco Inferno, I thought only the Marks had bad takes on this. Case closed." While The Rock was not present at the WWE live event in Knoxville, Tennessee, a video package showed him coming out to confront Roman Reigns on SmackDown, as those in attendance ended up booing this.
Roman wanted to individual that I talked to, he knows you very well.
Boo. Despite the backlash to The Rock being set to face Roman Reigns, it looks as though the Great One doesn't just want a WrestleMania showdown against the Tribal Chief. As Sean Ross Sapp stated, those that Fightful Select spoke to said that The Rock had not only pushed to work the match against Roman Reigns, some thought he was even pushing to win the match. In a photo, Mercedes Moné could be seen training with WWE Women's Champion Io Sky, as Moné is expected to be making her All Elite Wrestling debut in Boston on Wednesday. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.